Party is a very chaotic, messy, and delightful episode of Frasier. This is directed by Jeff Melman. It's the 23rd episode of the 5th season of Frasier, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the events in the episode and share some thoughts. And it starts off in Cafe Nervosa, and Frasier is running late to meet a woman called Tricia, played by Lisa Waltz, and he's late because his watch stopped, and unfortunately she has an appointment so she can't stay, and she leaves, but Frasier asks if he can see her again. Niles is also there, and we learn that Niles has actually met somebody in Frasier's building, a woman called Allison, and we'll come back to her in a little bit. The next thing we see is Frasier and Niles coming into Frasier's apartment in their squash gear. Frasier is late yet again to his date with Tricia. This time it's because his car had problems. And to make things worse, Martin has got Frasier Chimps on Ice tickets for his birthday, and Frasier really doesn't want to go, so he tries to get out of that. And Niles has invited him to an event, so he's going to be busy anyway. And unfortunately, it's not the birthday that Frasier wants to be having. It becomes very chaotic, but really delightful. I feel like from this point on, it's just so quick. We are jumping around so much. It is so fantastic. It is so unpredictable and really thoroughly enjoyable. We then go to this event in Allison's apartment. She's played by Marcia, Mitzman, Gaven, and it's a really nice atmosphere, really well done. A lot of people very elegantly dressed, and it's a really beautiful environment. Tricia then calls Frasier. Turns out she's leaving soon, so she wants to see him. And of course, Frasier makes his excuses, pretends he's not feeling well, leaves the event, goes to his apartment. And I'm so glad that I forgot what happened in this episode, because the next bit took me by surprise, and I loved it. He opens the door, turns on the light, and everyone yells surprise. There is an odd thing about this, though, because how would they, unless they were listening, but maybe they heard the key in the door, but they managed to very quickly turn the light off and get in position in time to yell surprise, because they didn't know Frasier was going to be returning at that point. So it's a little bit awkward that they were just standing in the dark waiting for him, but maybe they heard the key in the door, I don't know. And it's actually really sweet. Martin's thrown this surprise party for him. Everybody from KCL's there, and it's really rather delightful. And Frasier wants to try and leave, and Martin's obsessed with the ice. There's not enough ice there, and then Frasier decides to pour hot water into the bowl of ice without Martin seeing it. Oh no, the ice has melted too quickly. Frasier now has an excuse to leave, and he leaves very quickly, but basically squishes Roz with the door, because Roz said she'll go, it's Frasier's party, he should stay. He basically throws the door into her. And then he goes down in the elevator, and it happens to open in front of Allison's, and Allison is there, and she thinks Frasier must be feeling better. So she drags him back into the party, and Allison's husband's there, and we learn that she has a husband, first of all, which Niles didn't know about, and Allison happens to mention that just like her cheating husband, she's been with somebody else too. Obviously, Niles is terrified, and the lights go out, they're watching this film, and Frasier tries to escape, but he pulls the cord out on the film, and the lights go on, and there's him crawling on the floor, and he does escape, and Niles hopes that they would think that it's Allison's husband's escaping lover. No, not her husband's lover, Allison's lover escaping, but her husband says no. I still detect him in this room. And he stands up, and he's quite powerful when he speaks, and he demands that her lover stands up, and Niles is just about to stand up, but then about 4 or 5, maybe more than that, other men in the room all stand up, which was really awkward for Allison, but also showed just how much of a hold he had over people. Definitely quite an interesting character. Frasier then bumps into Noel in the elevator, who already has a bag of ice, so Frasier doesn't need to go and get ice. He goes back to the apartment against his wishes. He ends up playing charades. I find charades so boring, but that scene was so fantastic because the performances were just absolutely brilliant. And then They light the cake, the candles on the cake, and they're singing happy birthday, and it's a really lovely scene if it were not for the fact that Frasier was panicking about yet again missing Tricia. And he does eventually manage to escape and catch her just in time. And he shows her, I assume, his driver's license to prove that it was his birthday and that he did skip out on his own party. He wasn't pretending. And she was quite impressed that he left his own party to meet her. And Frasier realises they don't have much time now. She has to go to the airport. So he offers to drive her instead. Not to the airport, but to her destination. And it's a 6-hour drive. I assume that was 6 hours there and he'd have to do 6 hours back. And she agrees. And I don't know if that's a brilliant idea or a stupid idea to be locked in a box with somebody for 6 hours when you've just met them. Either a great way to get to know somebody, or a really great way to find out that actually you don't want to be around this person too much. And unfortunately, very quickly the latter happens for Frasier. As soon as the car starts, we find out that Tricia is, to use her term, a truth bringer. And it very much seems like the conversation is going to be about religion for 6 hours. Very possibly Tricia trying to convert him. And he's locked in now. He has this for 6 hours. So, not a bad way to end things. We actually end with Niles at the party. And I thought it was a really good episode. Very, very messy. A lot going on. Very chaotic, but organised chaos. And I rather enjoyed it. Personal highlights would have to be Frasier's party. Just in general, I think that's so sweet, so lovely that Martin wanted to organise that. And Frasier crawling around on the floor in the dark and then pulling the plug on the cord. And the men all standing up. All of the men with whom Allison had had an affair. So definitely a good episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Very well put together. Very funny. It's probably never going to be an all-time favourite. If I were to list my top 20, 30 episodes, it wouldn't even come close. But that's largely because there are some episodes that are just perfection. But honestly, it's probably not that far off. It is pretty amazing. Very well done. Party is not a bad episode of Frasier at all.